Welcome into a recorded edition of Connor's Takes today. As taping on a Wednesday for a Thursday night episode. Middle of the off season. We're about a month away from the NFL drafts. League meetings are concluding out down in Orlando, Florida. Many of the media would probably be away after next week, going on vacation, so probably no real news until the start of the draft. So then it starts speculation season. Those people out there, it's time to speculate. Like, where are people going to go? What trades are going to be happening? You might even get the fake trades. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I know we're recording this on a Wednesday night, but I believe it's still the first period, and the Sabres are down 5-0. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's 5-0 now?
It's 5-0 now. We
Oh
were
my god. Yeah, it is. It's 5-0. Oh my god. I'm so
I'm gonna
sorry,
flip my
Paul.
phone over. I wanna flip my phone over. Now I'm angry again.
Paul, I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Sorry for Oh, man. Be sorry for the sad franchise at times. It's hard for me to say it, but it's true. This is not Undercover's, hockey takes tonight. It's Connor's takes.
I
My hockey
mean,
takes are I don't know.
go Bolts.
Yes. No.
Go
Sorry.
Bolts.
We broke you last year, so
Yeah, you
not
really
happening
did.
this year, but
Nope.
I still have that memory from last year.
We'll break the Bruins hopefully tonight. But anyway, we have some very
Of
interesting topics for discussion tonight. I
We
know.
do.
And it's about to get
But
fun.
but before we get into our topics, I do wanna note we do have a giveaway,
Oh yeah.
happening over on our Twitter account. Is it 6-0? No, it's 5-0 at the end of one. Never mind.
Paul,
I
focus.
never focus. Alright,
Focus.
let me pull alright, so in honor of our 1-year anniversary, we're giving away, a jersey. The jersey of the Bills' first round pick, whoever they choose. It could be Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell, Wink Keon Coleman. We'll talk about him later in the show.
Of course we will.
Or maybe the Bills trade out of the first round and we're stuck with whoever they will take for their first pick in the second round. Or if they'll trade for like a guy like a Justin Jefferson. Hey, you get a
Ha,
free
like I
Justin
said,
Jefferson.
literally on Twitter as a troll. Yeah, we're gonna trade
You
away
get
our
a
first
free
now
Justin
because
Jefferson jersey.
yeah, yeah, Brandon Bean is going to see our tweet about the giveaway and go, "You know what? Nah, let's have some fun with these guys. We're gonna trade our first round pick this year for Justin Jefferson."
Why not? But here are the rules for the contest. You got to follow us on Twitter. One, so we can reach you, right? So we need to reach you if you win this giveaway. Repost, more attraction so we can get more people to have entered into this contest, and
Mhm.
then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Growth of the show is important, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's what's subscribe, watch our shows, watch and like our content. That's the purpose here. And also just to give you a free jersey. Contest goes to April 24th, which is the day before the draft. And we'll probably announce a winner either on the 24th or day of the night of the draft, of when we know if the Bills are picking or choosing a player at 28 or whatever they decide to choose. That it's still very early now. But back to league meetings. Kickoff rules, new. New kickoff rules. They added in a kick drop. Sorry, kick drop.
A
Hip
hip
drop
drop
tackle.
tackle.
They keep getting that mixed up. But they're eliminating the hip drop tackle, which is interesting how they're going to officiate this, because it's how it's being explained by Dean Blandino, which I've listened to him several times over the last couple of days, is that it's not really going to be called on the field. There will be penalties for hip drop tackle this year, he said. There will be penalties for that, but the referees have to go through all 3 phases before making the official call. Did he leave his feet on his body? All the 3 stuff that it was laid out during league meetings, kinda like a hit. He explained it like hit to the head. Like, how did that player initiate contact? Basically that. And then the league is basically also going to do through official reviews during the week for fines. Really, Connor, what is your thoughts on, 1, the new kickoff rule, which I I'll talk
This
about it in
is
a few minutes.
this
And then
is
adding more subjectivity to the game to where the refs already kind of ruined the game last year.
Well, the refs ruin games every year. A few years ago, we had a whole controversy over what a catch is after the
Right.
Pittsburgh Steelers got screwed out of a game against the New England Patriots because a supposed touchdown wasn't a touchdown because the tight end Jesse James didn't survive the ground or whatever that meant.
Yeah.
They changed that rule immediately the next year. And then that next year, you had a what is a pass interference when Nickel Roby Coleman flattened the Saints wide receiver and didn't get a call for it in the NFC Championship game. Now we've gone from what is a catch to what is a penalty to now what is a
Right.
tackle. Now we're actively going to be questioning what tackles are because heaven forbid this is what's going to happen in the new season with this new rule. It's 4th and 3, 5 seconds left. The Chiefs take the ball. Patrick Mahomes takes the ball, gets sacked, but a flag comes out because Von Miller sacked him with the hip drop tackle style. Automatic first down, timeout. Chiefs kick a field goal and win the game, adding on to our heartbreak because we don't know what a tackle is. It's
Yeah.
going to happen that way, and the Bills are going to be one of the teams screwed first by it.
Oh, jeez. It's
But
going to happen.
it is. But here's the other thing, too. It's going to, we discussed this on Monday, too, and I kind of
Mhm.
wanted to add on a little bit to what we discussed. We said that it's going to make defenders think a little bit more about tackling guys in the open field.
Right.
This is just going to make Dalton Kincaid a freak. Imagine Allen getting him the ball and then a defender looking at him and going, wait, do I tackle this dude? Wait, why can't I tackle this dude? I have to try to wrap him up by his chest here, try to, you know, push him down, and you just can't. So Kincaid just runs through everybody. Kincaid could become an absolute monster in the league with this new rule. And bigger players are also really going to benefit from it too. Dawson Knox in particular. Josh Allen himself. I mean, Josh is a freaking gigantic quarterback. And him running, like we saw in the Steelers game in the wild card round, you aren't going to be able to tackle that because if you try to, you can't hip drop tackle now, or else it's, I believe, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, right? I
I
believe that's the
I
penalty
don't know
now
if
for a
it's an
hip drop tackle.
automatic first down, but it's a 15-yard penalty, which would result in most likely a first down.
hmm So
I
that's the whole point. Like you're going to have to be very cautious about who you're tackling now, and how you're tackling. I wonder if you're going to get to a point where we're seeing these big hits like guys like Heinz Ward used to give
Yeah.
players, or even prime James Harrison style, where you just run into them and just bam, take them out like that because you can't grab them by the hips and drop your weight anymore to tackle somebody. So it's a lot of speculation at this point. Oh, by the way, the Tampa Bay Lightning have started the scoring. But as I was saying, it'll be interesting. I think week one, you're probably going to see a lot of these penalties be called while the refs even get used to figuring out how to call this penalty. And a lot of it too, I think they also said that it'd be more translating into fines for players
Yeah.
after. Yeah, that's you know the minute it happens to a Bills player, Bills Mafia is just gonna gather around and practically donate on a GoFundMe to pay the fine for the player if it was a bad call.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting to think about, just the camaraderie in the fan base.
Right, that would be nice, but just why? Okay, I get the injury part. Like, I get it. You're leaving your feet and there's that player, collapsing on somebody's leg and you don't want that injury. And I get that. But how else is a defender supposed to tackle? Like, here's the thing. If you want to penalize leaving your feet, penalize that, right? Say, like, the defender is 5 yards behind somebody, behind that player, and decides to leave his feet, then collapse on the leg. Okay, that seems maybe in their eye, it could be in their eyes as an aggressive tackle, and you're just leaving your feet to lunge into somebody, not for an intent of hurt them, but, to tackle them. Like, if you wanna eliminate that, fine, but, like, say if, like, the defender is coming from the side and the only way is to stop him is to wrap him around the hips and bring him down, well, that's how he has to make that tackle to
Mhm.
save a touchdown. If I'm looking at the Mark Andrews tackle,
Which
the
is
play
why
that
this
he
whole thing got banned.
Right. How else was Logan Wilson supposed to stop him from getting a touchdown? If he doesn't make a tackle or try to make a play, that's a touchdown for the Ravens, and we're talking maybe different playoff scenarios heading down 2 weeks later. So, that's kind of the issue here. Like, what was Logan Wilson supposed to do? Was he supposed to allow Mark Andrews to get past him because he was going to hip drop because he can't hip drop tackle anymore? Or is he
Nice.
now supposed to lay his now if he lays his shoulder, it could be a possible hit to the head.
Mhm.
Like, what? Like there's nothing really how a defender is supposed to tackle. It's
Yeah,
going to
it's
be
gonna be a mess.
1980 style football where it's just going to be full speed. It's going to be a full speed collision course out there. And I don't think that's the way the NFL wants to go, but it might be 1980 football tackling where it's high speed on high speed, boom, because they can't
Mhm.
tackle.
Yeah, for real, and it's wild to me, really, because you really are about to probably send football back a couple of years, maybe a decade or so, actually more like 2 decades, where you had these
That's
harder
even more
hits.
dangerous than just a hip drop
Mhm.
tackle.
Exactly. You're banning one thing because you think it's too dangerous, but you're opening the door now for players to not know what to do. So they're going to start slamming people into the ground, just like the older days when I first started watching football. So it's really weird, honestly. Like, you're going to change one thing, but it might lead into something a whole lot worse. And to me, it's just mind boggling. Like, Uh, do you think, Paul, that this will last very long, this rule? I give it maybe a season, and then they'll revert back to how it was
S
because
Yeah,
they'll notice
there's
players will start to clobber each other again.
it might not be a season. It might be here for a good 3, 4 years, you know, 1, see how it goes, right? This is
Mhm.
test run number 1. This is what we're gonna do. Maybe they'll adjust it a little bit in the off season, and then but the defenders are again, they're outcrying this. They hate this rule. So then they're going to realize the only way I can bring you down is 1980 style football, where
Mhm.
I'm just gonna run straight at you, full 20 mile per hour. all this body into you to bring you down.
It's not even 80s. It was recent years. Heinz
Right.
Ward used to do it to people all the time.
True.
I mean, it was something else then, and it'll probably get back to that way. But a
The
lot of
NFL, I
people
don't
love
think
that.
wants that.
No,
They're
they don't.
basically saying, we just don't want this lower leg injury. And I get it. ACLs and leg fractures sometimes can end a person's career. I get that. But the NFL, I don't think the NFL wants a NASCAR collision course out
Hmm.
there. They
Good
don't
way to
want,
put it, considering my background right now.
right,
But anyway,
but it's basically that. They don't need two players, like two cars coming together head on, going full at it. They don't need that. That will just cause more injuries and just increase the risk of football, I guess you could say. But
part of it for sure. I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
just ridiculous.
I'm sort of torn because it get that, career-ending injuries can happen, but you're then going to add you're gonna add in back the physicality of the old game back into this, because if you could quite frankly, you could say, "Hey, the NFL has lost physicality," but why it's lost physicality is because the injuries that are drawn from it. So the NFL is like, okay, now we're going to add that back in because we gotten too weak. But it's basically was the players saying, we know that's dangerous. We're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. It's a weird thing that's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to last because of the collision course we're going to get on the field, and then the subjectivity of it. What is a hip drop tackle?
What
Ooh,
is a
Jim,
tackle?
I don't know.
Oh my g no, please don't even.
Basically, that's what
I
we're
don't need
going to
an
get for
Yeah, I don't need
15
another
times a
Tony
game now.
I don't need a Tony Romo moment here. But, really quickly, I did wanna talk about this. It's a little off topic, but, the Chiefs are expected to sign a rugby star. It
Okay.
broke right before we started recording for this,
Right,
and
right, right.
imagine being in a position like the Kansas City Chiefs right now, where you have no holes on your roster, so you're like, "You know what? Let's go find a rugby player inside him and see what happens." You know what the sad part's gonna be? Watch this be the guy that breaks our hearts the playoffs. Watch. That guy will catch the final touchdown to win the game for the Chiefs and ruin our lives all over again.
Yeah.
You could
The
you could totally see it.
I don't know. The Bills signed a rugby player out of Australia. He was on, I believe, the practice squad roster for for the entire season. I don't think he lasted the next year, but it's
If we're just gonna
interesting.
if we're just gonna start signing people from different sports at this rate, let's sign 2 players. Let's sign Nikola Jokic from the NBA. You see how big that man is. Let's just sign him, have him play tight end. No one will be able to tackle him. Then at the exact same time, let's sign Corey LaJoy from NASCAR because he had talked about playing football for a long time. And he's a big guy. He's a pretty agile guy. I mean, obviously, we can't have him put the car on the field because that'd be a little that'd cheat a little bit, but we're not the Patriots. Anyway, if we're just gonna sign people at random, let's just sign people at random now, see what happens. But
Guess
anyway,
it's
that
part of
was
the global thing the NFL
it is.
posted about a few days ago. Growing the
It is.
game. I don't know. We'll see. If he makes the NFL roster, kudos to him. I mean, I think he was. I don't know too much about this player, but if he can make the NFL roster, good for him. I mean, start a new movement, I guess. I don't know. European players come to the NFL. I mean, which is fine that, they're talking about NFL Europe, making a European conference for the NFL. When we
Mhm.
get to that, when it happens to that, I think we'll have some fiery topics for that when that happens in the future to be determined.
Oh
All right,
yeah,
let's go to JJ
absolutely.
McCarthy.
Oh God.
Rumor has it that JJ McCarthy could possibly be the second overall pick of the 2022 NFL draft. Sorry, 2024 NFL draft.
I was about to say,
So,
you behind in your years there, Paul? Step into a time machine, all of a sudden JJ McCarthy's in the 2022 draft now?
still getting rid of this whatever I have, so my
I know,
brain's
I'm
not in it
messing with you.
100%. But here we go. Is he could he potentially be the biggest reach in this draft? Because I don't see him anywhere close to being number 2 overall.
N
He's
I don't
definitely
either.
not in my potential rankings
He's not even
for
top 10.
no.
Here's the thing, I was actually talking about this earlier today with somebody. If the Washington Commanders decide that they are going to draft JJ McCarthy at number 2 overall, fire the GM on the spot. Don't even let him leave the war room without being fired. Fire him immediately because that would be the worst decision that franchise could have ever made with the number 2 overall pick. Not when you have Jaden Daniels sitting right there, not when you could even I mean, you could literally take Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2 and it would make more sense than JJ McCarthy. Like,
Yeah.
what on earth would they even be thinking to do this? Now, here's another thing that I had also talked about as well. JJ McCarthy to the Commanders would be a mistake, but I had seen a mock where JJ McCarthy went 10th overall to the Jets. Could you imagine the scenario in which Aaron Rodgers in his it would technically be first full year with the Jets because he didn't really play but like 4
Right.
snaps. Imagine they're like, "All right, we're gonna get the offense better for you, Aaron. We're gonna do what we can," and they draft JJ McCarthy. That would be like the Jordan Love draft all over again, and that would probably cause Aaron Rodgers to just mutiny and leave the team at that point.
Yeah.
Could you physically imagine any of those 2 teams picking JJ McCarthy? I certainly couldn't, but what we
No.
need I want it to happen because we haven't had a good "What on earth is this team doing?" moment in a draft since the Giants took Daniel Jones a few years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
We haven't had one of those moments where you're just scratching your head going, "What are you doing?" You haven't we not any that have, like, really gotten people laughing. Like, when the Jags took Trayvon Walker number 1 overall, I think a lot of people were questioning it, but they weren't, like, laughing at Jacksonville,
Right.
calling them idiots for doing it, not like they were with the Giants and Daniel Jones a few years prior. We just need a moment in the draft like this. But I know if somebody who else I think could actually be a reach? I don't
Who?
wanna put it out into the universe, but, so Cooper DeJean is the only safety I've seen with a first round grade. Like,
Right.
a lot of mocks, I think, have, Cooper DeJean, like, late first round, early second, kind of around there, I believe.
Yeah.
What There's always been a situation in which a team will want a guy, a team above them will take said guy, and then they'll freak out and reach for the next best prospect. What are the odds that somebody does that with Cam Kinchins out of Miami? What do you think about this? Because say somebody takes Cooper DeJean in round 1, like late in round 1, some safety needy team, please not the Bills. We'll get Cole Bishop later, I promise.
Oh, yeah.
But what if another safety needy team sees that sees their target go off the board and they go, "Oh no, what do? We gotta get a safety quick." And they trade a huge package for a guy like Cam Kinchins. Do you think it could be I think it could be Cam Kinchins. I think there's plenty of players where this could happen in plenty of positions, in need. but we'll have to wait and actually see what happens in the draft because I don't see it could be Cam Kinchens. I mean, there's plenty of teams that need a safety, but if there's anyone that could be a real reach, yeah, JJ McCarthy. Like that'd be the ultimate reach. But I
JJ
want to hear.
McCarthy
I,
just
I want to hear it, Paul. What do you got about what? What I think weren't you on the Cam Kinchens hype train at one point?
no,
Good.
because here's the thing. Cam Kinchens I'll get back to JJ McCarthy in a second. Cam Kinchens, he intrigued me a little bit. I'm like, okay, give me another option except wide receiver at 28. And then Cam Kitchens came along. I'm like, okay. But immediately after that, it was his RAS score was terrible, athletic. He just doesn't fit to what, the Bills want. And then you go back to the tape and like he's getting cooked everywhere on tape by, he can handle the bad teams. Like he could probably handle a 1 in 15 Carolina Panthers team with his backhand. He could do that. But what about going up against the Chiefs in the biggest moment? No, he didn't do that in college. Against like Florida State, I think Clemson, all those other bigger ACC teams, he was burnt like a cookie. He was just burnt. He just didn't do much. That's why Cam Kinchens is not a first round pick. I don't think he's even a
Thank
second round
you.
pick. He could probably go in the third round. I'd be fine with that. I don't think if you're the Bills, stay away from him at all times. I think
Thank
there's
you.
there's at least 5, 6, 7, 8 options better than Cam Kinchens,
Oh my God,
but
no
still wide
way.
receiver all the way for the Bills at
It
28.
should be. It really should be. I mean, there's a few exceptions to the rule, and I actually think Cooper DeJean himself, like I discussed before, could be one of those exceptions if he's there. But
If
I
he's
don't
there,
think he'll
yeah.
be there. I don't think he'll be there. Uh, I don't think any of the other players that I would say are exceptions would be there. Jared Verse definitely won't be there. Like he'll be gone well before Buffalo ever has a
Oh, yeah.
shot. Uh, Latu, I think his name is. I discussed him on the show on Monday. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want him even if he was at 28 with the medical history. And there's a lot of similar traits with Cam Kinchens. He got a hamstring injury a few years ago. And then last year he had to be medically carted off the field in a loss. And I'm happy that he's okay and that he recovered,
Right.
but that's a little bit of a history that's kind of concerning. So I just the Bills need to stay away from Cam
Stay
Kinchens at
away
all
from
costs.
those.
We
Stay
don't
away, I
need
guess.
we don't need another Teron. We don't need our Teron Armstead except on defense. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say about that. Now
If I'm the
Kinchens
B
isn't even like he's okay. Like he's not, you know, he's not this world beater of a safety when he's on the field anyway. So there's too much risk with him, with Latu, all of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did plan to discuss the draft, but one random thing to note is that the Sabres actually scored a goal.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, they scored a goal.
I didn't get the notification. I would have been happy.
Yeah, well, they
Who scored
scored a
it?
goal.
Good.
It's
Good for
5 to
them.
1. It's JJ
Yeah.
Peterka's 25th goal
Good
of the
job.
year.
Good for him. Now I'm happy again.
Yeah, 5 to 1.
It's 5-1. It's still early second period. We got
It
this.
is. You might be the most optimistic Sabres fan I've ever met, Paul. All the rest of them are packing it in. Meanwhile, the Lightning are tied 1 to 1 with the Bruins right now. Anyway, the title of Connor's Takes tonight is Josh Allen wide receiver train. So let's jump into that because there's a lot to talk about with this. A video came out today. Josh Allen had another interview And he actually talked about wide receivers that he thinks would be available in the Bills' range. So he talked about Brian Thomas Jr., Keon Coleman. He talked about Adonai Mitchell. He talked about all those guys that we've been discussing for the Bills pick at 28. The one that I think stood out to me the most was Brian Thomas Jr. Like, unless he's just ranking these guys by order of his own preference, what would he
I think
know?
he is.
Yeah, he'd have to be because Brian Thomas Jr., I don't believe is going to be anywhere around 28. He's going to be gone well before that. But if he falls into 20, then if he falls into the 20s, I think Bean should consider trading up. Absolutely trade up for Brian Thomas Jr. because he would just be an absolute menace on this offense with Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid and James Cook. Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
It would be. Brian Thomas Jr. would be incredible. But I think that we would have to trade up for him. So that brings you to the other two that brings you to the other guys that he talked about. And,
Right.
he talked about Adonai Mitchell, which
Please.
a fairly interesting choice. I mean, I've been on the Adonai Mitchell train for a while. I would draft him.
Had him since the start of the offseason. Like, that's my dude. It's like AD Mitchell. Like, if it's not Brian Thomas Jr., it has to be AD Mitchell because even though, AD is not like built physically like a Brian Thomas Jr., you're still going to get the same things that Brian Thomas Jr. can give you. He's just in a
Mhm.
smaller body. He could do
Exactly.
everything that Brian Thomas Jr. can do. It's just the two are just physically different.
hmm That's the whole thing. So here is what I thought was interesting. If he is ranking these receivers in order, he has Keon Coleman as his third option, and that's above Xavier Worthy, Troy Franklin, and Xavier Legette, who all three of those aforementioned players I've heard Bills fans say, let's get this guy, or I've seen any of those three mocked to the Bills in round one, but you still just don't hear about Keon Coleman. And granted, I know some people are turned off a lot by his 40 time. I know people really want that down the field guy that can basically, if you want my opinion on it, maybe like a Tyreek Hill or a Jalen Waddle of our own, a guy that's so fast he can just run down the field, stretch it. Because if we had our own version, if we had our own speedster, at least we wouldn't have to worry about Allen underthrowing his target, if you know what I mean. Allen's
Oh,
got
yeah.
the arm to hit a guy 60, 70 yards down the field, unlike you know where I'm going with that. But anyway, I think that's what's on the minds of a lot of Bills fans. And personally, I can understand it too. Like, I would love to have a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. or even Adonai Mitchell or Xavier Worthy. I mean, Xavier Worthy had the fastest 40-yard dash time in
He did.
recorded combine history. That would be a speedster down the field. It'd be just like I said, I think I said it a couple of shows ago, our own Jalen Waddle almost. You got a guy
Right.
that's just so fast that you just can't catch up with him. And I think at the end of the day, that's what people want. But those speedster type receivers will get shut down by a very physical quarterback. And look at the Dolphins, for instance. Like, they have two of the fastest receivers in the league, one of the fastest running backs in the league, and they just hit a brick wall. And when they hit that brick wall, they couldn't do anything. So
Right.
you kind of want a receiver that isn't you want a receiver that isn't just fast, but you want a guy that can make these contested catches. You know what I'm saying, Paul? You want a receiver
100%.
that can go down the field and just moss people. Like, that's the whole thing about Keon Coleman that people don't understand. you got to go back and watch some of the games he played at FSU with Jordan Travis throwing to him. You would see Keon Coleman just get up and moss somebody for the ball. Then maybe 2 to 5 minutes later, you'd see him do it again on a completely
Right.
different quarterback on the other side of the field. Keon Coleman caught, I believe it was like 62% of his contested catches. 62% of contested catches. It always takes me back to the moment when, in the first Bills game against the Dolphins, when Stephon Diggs slithered away from Kader Kohu
Yep.
from a standstill.
Yep.
Keon would do the same thing, but instead of slithering away, he just bowl him over after he caught the ball. That's just how physical Keon is, and that's what he can bring to this offense. Is a guy that if you're throwing, like, even say against a team with a good secondary, like let's say the Jets, you got Sauce Gardner and you got DJ Reed. Say Josh Allen's looking for a target down the field against the Jets. He's got to get rid of the ball quick because Quinnen Williams is coming, and Keon Coleman is a Bill, and he was the one that Josh Allen throws the ball to, and he's got Gardner and DJ Reed right there. Coleman's going to come down with that ball most of the time. He's going to be able to jump right up, right in front of Sauce Gardner, right in front of DJ Reed. Bam. Get that ball, put it right to his chest, and come down with it. That's the, would you rather have a guy that can stretch the field but gets kind of locked up by a tough physical corner? Or would you rather have a wide receiver that might not be able to totally stretch the field, but if you throw to this guy, he's coming down with it 62% of the time in contested catch situations? Just think about it for a second. And if you chose option 2, that's Keon Coleman over a guy like Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. You know, speed is good. I should know. I mean, look at my background and my shirt, for heaven's sakes. I know a thing or two about speed, but having the tough physical receivers is just so good for an offense because you have to devote more on the opposing defense to cover this guy. And it's all for naught anyway because he's just going to catch the friggin' ball. Like, all the attention Keon Coleman would draw on an offense with Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid, even say a two tight end set with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and you've got Keon Coleman basically mossing people. Like, they're going to put all that coverage on Keon Coleman, which is going to leave Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, and hey, don't forget, Khalil Shakir caught all those passes last year in his position. Remember that? Remember his catch rate was like in the
Yep.
90s? That guy uncovered, lights out. Lights out. So I want to kind of, that's my whole idea, to try to get people sold on the Keon Coleman train and not to be disappointed if the Bills take Keon Coleman at 28. Like, I don't want people to be like, oh man, we took Keon Coleman, and just forget that, hey, we have another big bodied wide receiver in the locker room now with Josh Allen. And the fact that Josh Allen even said his name in that list and didn't bring up a guy like Ladd McConkey, who I literally drafted in my mock draft on Monday. I think that kind of says some volumes about what Josh thinks. And remember, it's because of Josh Allen that Dalton Kincaid was drafted. Paul, I can't hear you. Did your mic break or something?
Now we're working. It auto muted itself again.
Oh, good job, Paul. Way to go.
Thanks for having it happen mid show, but you know, scrap Lad McConkey. Just scrap it. Like,
What do you mean
don't
scrap
even
it? After I already went through all that on the show and after all the
scrap
tape I
it.
watched? No, I'm not
Scrap it.
scrapping it. I'm not.
Scrap
You
it.
stop it.
I'm not, because look, I'm not okay. This is not me being a Lad McConkey hater. Like, Lad McConkey just doesn't make sense for the Bills. Like, it straight up doesn't make sense for the Bills. And his RAS score came out today. I'm not
Oh,
super
oh, did it?
analytical here, but his height and weight both came in the red score area. His vertical and his broad explosiveness were in the yellow area, which was, about average for a receiver. AD Mitchell, even though he is a little bit on the lighter side, which shows up in his RAS score, his explosiveness and his speed are all really good. Yes, Vlad McConkey has the speed, but he doesn't have the explosiveness. What the Bills need is both. Keon Coleman can get you down the field, but he's not going to be explosive. But listen, AD Mitchell can make contested catches just like Keon, right? Keon can
Mhm.
make the clutch 50-50 catch. Same thing as AD Mitchell. But what Lad can't do is probably that because he's undersized.
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying he's your slot guy. We already have Shakir. We already have Kincaid. We already have Cole Samuel. You don't need an extra guy to throw in the slot. It just doesn't fit the scheme of the Bills' offense. Yes, don't get me wrong, he's a great player. He could be a great player in the NFL, but he's just not for the Bills. And I get the hype around him. He could do so much for you because of his speed, but he's not going to be that explosive guy off the line. And he's also not going to be that guy that can go get you 50-50 catches, which we just talked about with Keon Coleman and what you can get with AD Mitchell. And I think that's why Brian Thomas Jr., AD Mitchell, and Keon Coleman listed 1, 2, 3 for Josh Allen. That's why he listed that. Explosive off the line,
Mhm.
great route running, can catch the 50-50 ball, and they're all clutch. All 3 of them can do that. That's why
Mhm.
it's 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Then you
yeah.
go get Xavier Worthy, who's that speed Jalen Waddle guy, who wouldn't want that on their team?
I know for a
But
fact
it's
people are
just
gonna criticize me for comparing Xavier Worthy to Jalen Waddle, but
oh, that's his pro comparison. A lot of people are comparing him to that Jalen Waddle-esque player. It'd be great to have on this team. Same thing as having Ladd McConkey,
ooh,
whose pro
you know
comp
what?
is Cooper Kupp, be great, but it just doesn't fit.
Actually, hold on. So, you did just bring up that Xavier Worthy's pro comparison is Jalen Waddle. So, you
Yeah,
essentially know
right
what
around
that
there.
means, Paul, is that he is going to be a very, very great number 2 receiver, but if you give him the number 1 receiving
Yeah,
opportunity, it's not gonna go well. And I say that because if you're comparing him to Jalen Waddle, that's literally what happens with Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle gets the number 1 spot, in the year before Tyreek Hill showed up in Miami, and then when Tyreek didn't play in Miami due to the injuries, that's exactly what happened. Everybody covered up Jalen Waddle, and he just couldn't get free. Like, he couldn't really handle the pressure of all those double teams, all that coverage. He couldn't do it. Now, he's a great player, but at the end of the day, our wide receiver 1 option needs to be somebody, or wide receiver our draft option this year needs to be somebody that can take over wide receiver 1 in the future when Diggs leaves or retires. We have to plan for that too. So you need a guy that could fit every end, so to speak. And I could see a scenario in which, see, that's another thing too. We really don't know what Joe Brady's offense is going to look like
true.
throughout a full season. Who knows? He might scheme up something where Shakir and Lad McConkey both would be excellent, an excellent duo for each other. But who knows exactly where he's going to go with this? He could create something that schemes Diggs, as wide open as possible, but still having a guy like Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, or maybe even Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, who knows? but
He
I
had
think
Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase in college.
that's
So he
wild.
knows how to do an offense with 2 skilled guys that could play outside and can also I think Jamar Chase can sometimes slide into the slot, which is fine, same thing as Justin Jefferson as became a pro. That's what AD Mitchell and Keon Coleman can do. They could be your outside dudes, but in a Joe Brady-esque system, based off what we know what he did with Carolina and at LSU, he's gonna bring these guys from the outside. He can also bring them to the inside, and I don't know, can Keon Coleman play a little bit of the inside and kinda work the middle of the field, or is he
Yeah,
strictly outside?
no, he was put in a lot of different positions under Coach
There
Norvell
you
at
go.
FSU, but a lot of it was on the outside. He can do I
Okay.
mean, it'll be interesting to see what, Joe Brady would do with Keon Coleman, but a lot of it I just look at it as, the player that I know Keon Coleman is.
Right.
And it's the same with Johnny Wilson, who we've discussed on the show before. He's a little bit of a lower rated prospect compared to Keon Coleman, but that FSU offense last year was just so potent. And all of our best offensive players are in this year's draft. Keon
Right.
Coleman, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, and Jordan Travis. I mean, we had so many great players on the team that just went undefeated to win the ACC that are in the draft. And any one of them would be absolutely magnificent for us. I mean, obviously, let's not say Jordan Travis unless we wanted a developmental pick, at the quarterback position. But like I said on Monday, that'd be better to spend a seventh rounder on. Let's just get Talia Tagovailoa and troll all the Miami Dolphins fans. But we will do something about like how I feel about all of the players that I watched at FSU and go into more detail with them later in maybe another episode of
Yeah,
Connor's Takes, maybe in a live segment on the
definitely.
show with Ben, because Ben will know exactly where I'm coming from with all this. But if there's any solid FSU players, our most solid options, Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk. To be completely fair, I know it'd probably be way too early for a running back, but Trey Benson could have been a good option, but I think he'll be gone by the time we thought about a running back. But Trey
Yeah, he's
Benson
probably
would be
going day
incredible.
2 sometime.
Yeah, Trey Benson's around a second, third round pick.
Yeah. Bills only
Running
have
back
1
Trey
second
so
and no third.
running back Trey Benson is seen as one of the top running backs in a weaker class at the position. Very few analysts project any running backs to go within the top 50, but many have Benson right outside. Benson appears to be viewed as a late second to early third.
Mhm.
Mel Kiper and Jordan Reed of ESPN both ranked him as the second best running back in the class. So
Makes
there
sense.
you there you have it. I mean, gonna be well out of our range, especially considering the second round is when we need to either focus defense or our wide receiver if we happen to go a guy like Cooper DeJean in round one, or if we do take a chance on Laitu Latu if he's there, which like I said, I hope we don't. But either way, we'll see what happens. The draft is always a crapshoot, but it's always a very fun crapshoot because you just never know who's going to be good.
Never know. It's literally trying to draw the lottery. I mean,
Exactly.
you're trying to draw those, there's 5 numbers at the lottery. You're trying to get at least 3 of them right, if not all 5 of them. Even though the winning the lottery is hard, winning the draft is hard. It's
Hmm.
because you just don't know. Yes, you can take in stats, you could take in tape, you could take in whatever analytics that there is, but you won't know until week 1 of the NFL season, which begins on a Thursday and in Brazil this year. So you won't know until You won't know until the
Wait a
players
minute.
put the jersey on and pads
Wait,
on and they start going.
wait a minute. Paul, the Sabres
What?
scored again.
It's 5-3?
It's 5-2.
Oh, I know it's 5-2. I was about to say.
It's 5 to
I'm
2.
keeping track of it. I got the notification when we were rambling about Keon Coleman, which was great. And it was like 5-2. Like, let's go. And then I'm like, you just said that they scored, and I'm like, man, 5-3. If they could get to the end of the second period, make it 5-3, the second period
Come
will
back.
be interesting. Then comeback trains on. Don't leave the seats. Don't leave the arena just yet. But
Yes, Zach. I know he's there. He posted it that he was there on Twitter earlier. He better not be leaving. Don't leave yet.
don't leave early. Nope. I'm not a leave early person at a game. I don't
I'm not
care.
either.
I don't care. I went to a Sabres game last year. We lost 7-2. Stayed the
Oof.
entire game. You pay the you pay tickets to go watch the game. Yes, they might be getting their butts blown off, but they're your team. You're there. You paid the ticket. Stay the entire game. I'm never a leave early person. Just because, even though it's 7-2 at the end of the second period, who knows?
Hmm.
There's still the unknown. Just probably that's
There's
the
the unknown.
superstitious
And
side.
see, that's the thing too. You want to talk about superstition? I saw a tweet earlier today from, I believe it was Greg Cover One. I
Right?
have always been a guy in football because of my NASCAR heritage that has always thought that numbers are an indication of how good or bad a player will be. Did you know Terrell Bernard, I believe, is the one that wears 47? And hopefully that's I don't know if it is it Terrell
Where's
Bernard
43?
or no, so I don't know who I saw was 47. I don't remember where it was. Let me see if I can find it again because I quote tweeted it with a where is it? Hold on. I'm gonna try to find it real quick.
47.
Yeah, I don't know
Digging
if
into my Bills numbers, I don't know who's for. Is it
it
Ingram,
might not
maybe?
be. Let me look. Wait, who? Who'd you say?
It's Ingram, maybe? Like Jamarcus, the Ingram guy, the extra corner that we sometimes carry?
Hold on. Let me see because I
I don't recall a 47.
oh,
Must be
not
a practice
Terrell
squad.
Bernard. Is I think it's Christian Benford.
Oh.
Why did I say Terrell Bernard? No, Christian Benford, I believe, wears 47. And I
Yes, he
found the
does.
tweet. And I found the tweet. Hey kids, Captain America here, talking to you about the importance of position appropriate jersey numbers. You see, kids, when we let cornerbacks wear 47, that is the first step down the slippery slope of how we let Hydra win. Do your part and say no to 47. And yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. Can we get Christian Benford out of 47? Give him the number 5. That way he gets the GOAT energy behind me instead of freaking Kyer Elam, who already has it. But hey, if it turns Kyer Elam into the GOAT, like behind me, then why not, right? Kyer
Why
Elam
not?
being a stud, I'm all for it.
I would be all for it because I believe this is his final year of his rookie
Hmm.
contract, if I can recall.
That's why I said
So
Josh Allen should wear 5 instead of 17. But
no, keep 17, Josh. But Kyrie Irving discussions, it's definitely a discussion to have throughout the offseason. If that's an interesting one because it's his final year of his contract, of his rookie deal. But
hmm
we've came to the end of Connor's takes. Remember, enter in the giveaway, the
hmm
free first round pick giveaway. Do that. Follow us on Twitter,
hmm
retweet it, and then subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's
hmm
easy. Then you have a chance to win a possible AD Mitchell jersey, a possible Brian Thomas Jr. jersey, or a possible Keon Coleman jersey
let's
because it's
go.
ride the wide receiver train until
The
we get our
wheels
hearts
fall off.
broken on draft day because they decided to trade up for a defensive end. which is in the
Hey,
back
if it's
pocket of.
Jared Verse, I won't complain. I will
I'm
not
mentally
complain, I
preparing
promise.
myself now,
Mentally
so I
prepare yourself
don't.
for the to trade out of round 1. Because watch
I'm not doing that.
watch
No.
Bean have no round 1 grades on anybody left and say, "Screw it, I'm not doing this," and trade out of round 1 just to get more
So
picks.
that would mean AD Mitchell would have to be off the board. I mean, he could possibly be off the board.
Mhm.
I mean, that's another discussion. That's a discussion for Monday because we're also live on Monday.
Exactly.
See how that works? See how that
Yep.
works?
Paul,
So
you and
guess
your,
what? So we're also live on Mondays as well. Catch us live every Monday. Connor's takes. Normally, sometimes live if we have a guest. Most likely it's pre-recorded. Just
mhm.
depends on the given day. But thanks again for tuning in. We went a little longer on a pre-taped edition, but that's fine. But
Oh, yeah, we
as
had fun.
as we always end, go Bills.
Go Bills.